Hi there. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Haley Sohn, nutritionist, weight loss expert, and you are listening to Weight Loss Without Dieting, where we talk about all the weight loss methods that have nothing to do with a list of foods that you can and can't eat. So, today is a really good topic because we're talking about signs that your current weight loss method is not going to give you the result that you want, is not going to be successful, and is not going to be successful long term. So these are 10 signs that what you're doing to lose weight right now isn't going to work long term. And I'm going to break each of these 10 down. I'm going to try to keep this episode not an hour long. We're going to get through it, but we're going to get through it with enough information so that you really feel like if you're trying something new right now, or whatever that's looking like for you, diving into something that you've done before, maybe that had some success, you have an idea of how to gauge, okay, is this actually going to work for me? Is this actually going to get me where I want to go? And if not, maybe it's time to look at something else. By the way, this is another walk and talk episode where I take you out on a walk with me. So it's a little bit less formal than me sitting in my studio with notes. And you get the pleasure of hearing my neighbors mow their lawn and dogs barking and who knows what else I'm going to run into. The last one I did, there was a trash truck following me around. I couldn't get away from. That was super fun. I apologize for that. But mostly I think it's not too bad. There's a little bit of traffic. And me huffing and puffing. I am 34 weeks pregnant, so I apologize for my probably very loud breathing. Okay, so we're diving in 10 signs that your current weight loss method is not going to be successful. So first, and there we go, we're kicking it off with a loud delivery truck. So first, just gauging your emotional state, I think, is a really good place to start. I like to say, I'm going to dive into a couple more specific emotions, but just any emotional state that's kind of extreme. So at one end of the spectrum or the other. So very either negative, and I'll talk to you about that, or very positive, is rarely going to work long term. Where I train all of my clients to get to is much more neutral positive emotions. I like to focus on the C's a lot. That doesn't mean these are the only ones, but the C's are calm, confident, and certain. Those are wonderful emotions that are going to serve you so well in your weight loss journey. But a lot of times, what the current diet weight loss landscape looks like is much more extreme. So we are either on the more negative side, where we're looking at pressure, stress. The Biggest Loser, that hasn't been around for a while, but I think that kind of pushing people into things with a lot of fear still exists in our current weight loss mindset and attitude about losing weight. Willpower is another one. We don't necessarily think of that as super negative, but it's definitely not on the neutral, in that more neutral space. And then additionally, on the positive side, this always surprises people, but having a really intense positive attitude about it isn't helpful either. It's so surprising. It was really surprising to me when I kind of learned this, but it's not helpful either. It's just not sustainable. So feeling super excited, super motivated, super determined, those aren't necessarily bad, but they're not things that tend to last very long because they're so high energy, we can't keep them up. And a lot of times we go in, feeling this really intense excitement or motivation about something. And then when we don't see results really quickly, when we stumble, within a couple of days of starting, it kind of all goes away. Like our extreme excitement goes away. If the scale doesn't move down immediately, it's like, oh my God, this isn't going to work. So those extreme positive emotions don't really give us the result we want either. And super, if you're working in a program or with a coach, this is not to, disparage others in the industry. And I obviously am talking to you from, without knowing your situation or who you're choosing to work with, but a coach or professional in the industry who has that super raw attitude and kind of like, we're gonna, positive mindset you into weight loss, or we're all going to cheer you on until you lose the weight. That doesn't ever really tend to yield the results that you're looking for either, unfortunately. So just be wary of that, be conscious of that. You want somebody on your team who's looking at it through a neutral lens. They're not looking at you through rose-colored glasses and saying, oh, yeah, but you're doing amazing. It's all good. It's okay. You've got this. Like, that doesn't really help. What you need is somebody who can hear what you're saying. I want to lose weight, but I keep eating ice cream on the couch at night, and say, okay, why are you choosing that? What's the reason? Let's actually dissect this. Let's look at it from a very neutral place. No judgment, no fear-mongering, but also no well, you're just loving yourself. We don't need to go to either side. What is going on? Why is that happening? And how can we move this towards where you want it to be, where you can have a bowl of ice cream once a week and really enjoy it, but you're not thinking about it otherwise. Okay, number 2, an extreme diet. Anything that's really extreme does not tend to last. A lot of what I talk about in this podcast, like a running thread, is moving away from anything that's extreme. So extreme emotion, extreme action. So I'm going to cut out all these foods. I'm going to do this really intense diet. Anything that's really extreme, it doesn't last. We cannot keep it up. And ultimately, it's also not what we want for the rest of our lives. So how you lose the weight is how you're going to keep it off. Whatever you do to lose the weight is what you're going to have to keep doing in order to keep the weight off. Keep that in mind. That is a crucial part of this. If you don't want to be on an extreme diet for the rest of your life, it's probably not a great choice for your weight loss journey. Unless you're going into it with the mindset of, I'm going to do this with an exit plan. I'm going to do this for this very specific like health reason. So let's say you find out maybe you have a couple of foods that are really inflaming you right now, and you really need to get that inflammation down and then recheck in with, where you are and how you're handling, how your body is processing certain foods. That might be like, okay, I'm doing this for 6 months. And then at that time, I'm going to be able to add, potentially add XYZ back in. So it's kind of like, it's not this extreme thing in order to lose weight in a quickly extreme way. It's like, we're doing it for this time period. We're checking in for health markers, and we have a plan to move forward, and to also like still be conscientious and enjoy the foods that we're having. So any extreme diet where it's like something that you haven't tried before, it's a lot of new foods, or you're cutting out a lot of things, or you're going on really low calories, or I'm trying to think of like, somebody else mentioned something I had the loud truck's back. I had a weight loss consult today, and she was talking about some of her friends and colleagues had done Overeaters Anonymous, and I was kind of explaining to her where that viewpoint is under this kind of, I see this as extreme viewpoint of, you are powerless to this substance, which is food, and you just have to relinquish your kind of like, give up the, thinking that you're ever going to have any control around it. And I just completely disagree with that viewpoint. It's not to knock it for anyone who's done it and it's worked for you. It's just not my opinion. And I think it's kind of this extreme place of like, I'm powerless to this thing, and I have to just kind of like give up, like thinking that I could ever be in control around it. Just not helpful, in my opinion, and would be fall in that extreme category. So anything that feels like really far out, typically does not last. It might work for a time, but typically doesn't last very long. If you're feeling specifically doubtful, you're going into something just feeling like, I don't know if this is going to work. And if the thing that you're trying does not address your feelings of doubt. So I put in that asterisk because many of my clients come in to work with me feeling doubtful. It's not abnormal to have tried a lot of things to lose weight, have seen some success, but ultimately not ever gotten to where you want to be, and to go into something new thinking, I don't know if this is going to work. But what I coach my clients through is that doubt. We talk about it, we put it out in the open, and we discuss like, how do we move the needle forward from doubt into, I believe in my ability to change, my ability to do this, my body's ability to lose weight, all those things. So it's a very big part of what we're actually working on is the doubt. But if you're feeling doubtful and you're stepping into a new diet, most diets don't address the mindset piece. They don't ask those type of questions or help you work yourself through them. So that would be a big red flag for me. Number 4, someone else is making you do it. And I mean this in like 2 ways. So recently I've been talking a lot about like this big sister mentality where you're like, you've got somebody kind of looming over you like, you shouldn't eat that. That's not going to help you lose weight. Here's your list of foods that you can and can't have. Okay? So just don't eat those things. Someone else is telling you, yeah, you shouldn't eat that. It's so bad. You know, all of that kind of mentality around like someone else is making you eat this food. Because ultimately, when you're in that situation, you aren't really learning anything new. And you're certainly not learning how to adjust your brain to this new way of eating. And you never ultimately take control of that way of eating. Someone else is telling you what to do. So you're not ultimately in control. You're not building that confidence muscle to know what foods are working for you and what foods aren't, and how to be around food and be confident that you're not going to eat all of it. So that's one part of this. And the other part is, I legitimately have people come to me and say, I need my spouse to lose weight and you need to help them. I can't do that unless the person is like consenting to do it and they want to do it for themselves. I can't make somebody lose weight, and someone can't make you lose weight. So if someone is making you do this, is pushing you into it, it's not going to work. So let's go back to this example, because I just had this conversation on this weight loss consultation today. And this woman had a couple friends who had done Overeaters Anonymous. It had worked for them. If they were like, you have to do it, this is your only option, it's the best thing, it's going to work for you. But she had some fundamental issues with it. She wasn't bought into the mentality of it and everything that it entailed. There was a couple other things. But if she let them kind of like push her into it and just went ahead and did it, that's never going to work. Because she had some fundamental things that she didn't like about it. And so just because somebody else is saying, no, you have to do this, this is going to work for you, it's the only option, it's probably not going to work in that scenario. So if you're in that type of scenario yourself, maybe you have a friend who's like, let's do this diet together, let's do this workout program together, but you're not really bought in, it's probably not going to be successful. Okay. Number 5, you're cutting out foods that you like. Now, this is not to say that when you're trying to lose weight, you're just going to be eating foods that you love all the time. Although I do think that your taste preferences are really important. I just don't mean that you're going to be eating like, ice cream 3 meals a day, or like your bread and cheese for every single meal. Like, probably not. That's probably not realistic. There's going to be some times when you're like, this isn't my absolute favorite meal, but I'm also not going to eat a cheeseburger and french fries for every meal and expect to lose weight. So, but largely cutting out a lot of foods that you like. So let's say, for me, like cheese. I really enjoy cheese. It's not a problem for me to have in my life. But someone's like, okay, you're going to lose weight. You can't ever eat cheese again. That would be a big deal for me. I would be like, I don't think that this is going to work. I'm not willing to, right now, unless it was like actually a problem for my digestion or like my health in some specific way. This isn't a realistic scenario. Yes, maybe cheese is not going to help me hit my weight, so I'm not going to be eating blocks of cheese for every meal, but I want to have it in my life. Maybe cheese is not a great example. Cookies. Let's just go with cookies. So you can't ever eat cookies again if you want to lose this weight and get to where you want to be. Okay, I understand cookies shouldn't be a staple of my diet, but I like genuinely enjoy cookies. And I want to get to a place where I can have a cookie and it's not a big deal. And I get to enjoy it and I still get to weigh what I want. So anything that is telling you cut out all these foods that you like, and your bigger vision for your weight loss is that you get to live your life and weigh what you want, then this is not going to work. Because what happens in these situations is we tell ourselves, okay, I'm never going to eat cookies again, or I'm not going to eat cookies for the next 6 months. And then we spend all of our time thinking about cookies and wanting to eat cookies. It's like whatever we tell ourselves we can't have, our brain obsesses over, and that's all we can think about. And so it really has this backlash effect on us and our weight loss journey, where now it's this big thing. Our brain turns it into this big thing. And you spend your entire time, obsessing over it and just waiting, counting down the days until you can eat it again, at which point you literally have no control over it. You're just completely out of control, just like eating it like crazy because it's been off limits for so long. So I never recommend starting anything in that way, doing any weight loss method in that way. There's so many better ways to feel in control around food and to legitimately still have those foods as a part of your life, but you feel in control around them, you feel confident around them. That's really the goal, is let's build your self-control and your confidence around those foods versus just saying, you know what, you're not to be trusted and this food is bad, you're just going to cut it out. Number 6, cheat days. Not a fan. Again, kind of like I was just saying with the cookies, like anytime we're doing something extreme and we're telling ourselves, okay, all of these things are off limits, Monday through Friday, we're kind of giving our brain this opportunity to obsess about them. And then when they do become available, we feel very out of control around them. So what happens with the cheat days, it's not like we're having, a cheeseburger and french fries one time a week and feeling really good about it. Like we enjoyed the experience and we were present with it and it tasted good and we were in control the whole time. What usually is going on is we're restricting a certain amount of days and then we're leaving 1 or 2 days of the week completely open-ended. And during those days, we are telling ourselves whatever we eat is totally justified. We're spending the restricting days getting really excited about the cheat days, and we are completely checking out on the cheat days and going crazy, just like eating all of the things. We're not paying any attention. We're not in control. We're not confident. And there's a level of, self-judgment usually that comes into that, feeling really guilty about it, feeling ashamed, asking ourselves, like, what's wrong with me? Why would I overeat like that? Even though it was a cheat day. Or further justifying it. It was totally justified to overeat like that. And so that kind of snowballs. And it never gives us the result we want. Plus, I think people underestimate, like, you can restrict for 5-6 days a week. And in one day, you can eat enough to undo all of the restriction that you did. Do not underestimate that capability, because it can very easily happen. So if your weight loss method includes the cheat days, I would be very wary and conscientious of that. And I would also be monitoring where your mindset is around that cheat day and around the restrictive days too. What are you thinking about during those times? What are you feeling? What type of emotions are like building up in you during restriction, during the times that you're thinking about the cheat days? Because my guess would be there's a lot of like turmoil happening mentally, and it's all going to be unleashed in one day. And it might build over, a matter of weeks. It might not be like that the first week or two, but typically it tends to ramp up, and then you just get to this place where you're like, I am totally out of control and I feel like crap. Number 7, you feel like you're holding on for dear life. So you are doing this diet, but you're having to use every ounce of willpower that you have in order to continue forward through it. And it just feels like really, really challenging. Like you are at the edge of being completely out of control and just running to the pantry and eating whatever you can find. That is not a place that you want to be. Really not helpful. And it's not going to last. I think we try to fool ourselves into thinking like this is going to pass. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to get better at it, and I won't need the willpower, or it's going to get easier. And what I'm here to tell you is that that's never the case. It tends to go the other way. It just gets more and more hard, and you feel more and more out of control. And this is a total side note moment, but that kind of brings me back to this thinking about the Overeaters Anonymous, where you're told to tell yourself that you're powerless to the food, and that you will never be able to be in control around it. I think that it's kind of born out of this place, out of these extreme methods of dieting to where you are really out of control, and you buy into that mindset I am totally out of control. There is no way for me to be in control around this. And what I told the consult today, and what I'll tell you, is that I don't really believe that that's ever true. I think all of this is brain stuff going on in your mind and in your brain. And there's, yes, a lot of neural pathways that are built up around food and eating and how you use food to help you manage your day-to-day life. And then there's a lot of, I talked to her a little bit about the Pavlov's dogs, which I've spoken about here, which is those neural pathways where something happens, a bell rings, and then you expect this reward. And we build those up in our life all over the place, and we just don't even realize that they're happening all the time. But that's part of that, where we don't understand it, so we just chalk it up to there's something wrong with me and I'll never be in control around food. And I think that for most people, a level of education around that and what's actually happening for them, and then another level of education around, okay, here's how we can actually change your brain and break old neural pathways and create new ones with consistent, regular tools and consistent, regular coaching, that you actually can feel in control around food. So that's my side note moment. Number 8, you're relying on exercise for weight loss. So I actually have another podcast written about why exercise is not an effective weight loss tool. And I'll just open with this. So when I was in nutrition and exercise physiology school, we were told that if someone wanted to use exercise alone as their weight loss tool, it needs to be an hour and a half a day, 6 days a week, which is a lot for anyone, and probably pretty high intensity depending on where your diet is. But what I'll also caveat that with is that you can so easily outdo your exercise caloric burn with junk food that you could, hit that level of exercise an hour and a half a day for 6 days a week and out eat yourself, which is absolutely crazy, but totally possible, and it wouldn't be that hard. It's just we don't burn as many calories as we think we are when we're exercising. And the other couple of things that go on with exercise are, number one, when you're new to it, you burn a lot more calories in the beginning. So your body isn't very efficient at it. It doesn't have your lung capacity isn't efficient, your heart rate's not efficient, and it's kind of all over the place. So it's burning a lot more calories. Plus you're usually adding in more muscle mass, and that can burn a lot more calories in the beginning as well. Your body's just not efficient with it. So in the beginning, you're burning a lot more calories, and because of that, typically your body starts sending a lot more hunger signals. Okay, you got to eat more. So your the inefficiency of your body does burn more calories, and in turn, you start getting a lot more intense hunger signals. Now, what happens is, of course, you're going to feel like you want to eat a lot more with those hunger signals if you're not equipped to handle them, which is a big thing of what me and my clients talk through. We talk a lot about hunger, how it feels, how to handle it, how to think about it in a productive way. But if you don't have those tools, you're just working out and you're feeling super hungry, you're probably going to be eating more. You're probably also going to be telling yourself, hey, it's okay. I'm justified to eat this because I'm working out so hard. And then back to early days of exercise, burning more calories. Once your body gets really efficient with your exercise, you stop burning all those calories. So for the first week, 2 weeks, a month, you might be, let's say, burning, 350 calories for your workout. But after a month, that drops down to 100 calories. But you're still in this mentality of, oh, well, maybe it worked that first month. Maybe you did lose some weight. And then the second month, it's like your caloric burn drops because your body's gotten more efficient at it. You're really good at it now. But you're still eating the same, and you stop losing weight. There's so many aspects of trying to lose weight just with exercise that are just not efficient. And this is another side note thing. But one thing I see so many women doing postpartum, because typically they're a little bit younger, they're not going through perimenopausal hormone changes yet. So they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to implement, this intense exercise routine. I'm going to train for a marathon. That's what I hear a lot. Had a baby. Now I'm going to go train for a marathon. That's going to help me get off the baby weight. And your body physically just isn't ready for that level of intense exercise. It's just not exercise is great, but that level of intense exercise just isn't healthy for your body at that time in that kind of fragile hormonal state. And it's still healing and recovering from being pregnant and giving birth. And it's like takes more out of you than it does help you. So always checking in with kind of all those factors I just mentioned when you're considering using exercise to lose weight. It's never something I recommend. And honestly, as a nutritionist, I have a degree in nutrition and exercise physiology. Me and my clients hardly ever talk about exercise. Like it's not really a part of my program. I always recommend, be active, but it is not like a necessity to lose weight, because it just isn't a good tool for weight loss. It's great for health. It's great for how you feel, your energy levels. It's great for balancing hormones. It can be helpful with metabolism. It's great for longevity, but it is not effective for weight loss. Okay. Number 9. You can't wait to get back to eating things like you did before the diet. So you are just counting down the days basically until you can go back to eating this, that, and the other. And that is, a big focus for you. So you're spending your time on the diet thinking about getting back into the drive-thru, getting back to having, ice cream on the couch every night. That's not helpful. You're not moving the needle forward on where your brain is around food. You're really just doing something temporarily, so you can go back to eating how you were before, which I will say you don't like either. You don't like how you're eating before the diet, and you don't like how you're eating on the diet. So neither one is going to serve you to get to where you want. Where we want to be is freedom around food, confidence, and in control. And you don't have that right now before the diet, and you don't have that on the diet. So neither one is going to get you where you want to go. What you need to be working on is building confidence around food, building control around food, changing your relationship with food ultimately. And diets don't do that. You have to take it deeper in order to do that. Okay. And number 10. This one is quick. If the diet ended today, would you feel confident that you could keep whatever weight you've lost off? I can say with 100% certainty that everything I tried up until what I do currently, the answer would be absolutely not. And I might try to fool myself and be like, well, I could, no, there's no way. None of it was going to be long-term, long-lasting. It wasn't what I wanted for my life. I didn't want to have, only smoothies every day, all day for the rest of my life. I also didn't want to be overeating chips on the couch at night. Like, I didn't want either one of those things. And so, no, there was absolutely no confidence that I was going to be, if you took the diet, whatever diet I was on, away, that I would keep the weight off or be able to keep it up, continue losing weight. It was like, no, I'm just going to be totally out of control then. So you ask yourself that question. If I didn't have this diet, would I be able to keep the weight off? If you aren't sure, then it's not the right thing for you. What you need to be working on instead is building that confidence muscle around food, building your control around food, figuring out what foods are actually going to work for you, to weigh what you want. What do you want to have in your life as indulgences? What do you want to have in your life as healthier meals, healthier foods? Where is that balance? And how much of those foods and when you should be eating them is kind of the other piece. That's what you actually need to be working on in order to have a really actually wonderful weight loss journey and to be able to keep it off. Like, to know that this is never coming back because you've built in those skills and you've really changed your relationship with food. Okay. That's what I've got for you today. I will see you or talk to you on the next episode. Bye.